fallout from the coronavirus continues. As you've probably heard, Record Store Day has been postponed, and it kind of makes you wonder what's next. Will record shows start to be canceled? We'll talk more about that coming up next. Hi, my name is Frank. Welcome back to Sundays on Channel 33 RPM, your channel for vinyl, gear, and more. Now, I had a full video ready to go for you on my top picks for Record Store Day 2020. And then, of course, on Friday, we heard Record Store Day had been postponed until June 20th. So I've decided to resplice this video and put a new introduction on it here. And so today we're going to talk about the fallout, what's happened, and what may happen next. Now, at the end of this episode, I will splice in my original episode where I talk about my top picks for Record Store Day 2020. I hope you stick around for that. But first, let's delve into this issue a little bit more. So, I got my notes here. As we mentioned, Record Store Day announced on Friday that Record Store Day, the event, would be moved to June 20th from April. And they issued a statement which reads here in part, we've decided that the best of all possible moves is to change the date of Record Store Day this year to Saturday, June 20th. It says, we think this gives stores around the world the best chance to have a profitable, successful Record Store Day while taking into consideration the recommendations of doctors, scientists, the World Health Organization, Centers for Disease Control, and the need to be good citizens of both local and worldwide communities. Record Store Day is everywhere, and we want to hold our party when everyone can gather around safely to celebrate life, art, music, and the culture of the indie record store. Now, I kindly suggest that was probably a reasonable reaction on the part of the folks at Record Store Day. No one wants to spread an infection, and no one wants to get sick, and hopefully by June, things will clear up. As the statement stated, Record Store Day is supposed to be a celebration. It's not supposed to be about people gathering in fear that they're going to get or spread a virus. Now, I know through comments I've read that many of you were disappointed by this decision made by the folks at Record Store Day and consider it an overreaction. However, as the statement points out, Record Store Day is a worldwide event, and the seriousness of coronavirus really varies widely throughout the world. Here in Canada, it's here, and governments have taken a lot of actions, but it's not as bad as, say, in Italy, where I don't even know what the latest numbers are. Hundreds of people have died from this. So you really have to consider, again, that this is a worldwide event and that scenarios are different in various parts of the world. And who knows what the situation will be like in North America here next month. It could be a non-issue or it could be a huge issue. I guess time will only tell, and I have to stay tuned for that. The other thing you have to remember is that people are going into self-isolation, and many workplaces are sending employees home. And this is going to have an impact on the movement of goods worldwide. And that would have an obvious impact on Record Store Day. If you think about it, many of the Record Store Day titles sold here in North America are pressed in Europe, and vice versa. So if people are staying home, the shipment of goods has slowed down. That's obviously going to apply to records as well. So if Record Store Day had gone ahead in April as planned, there's a good chance that many of the records you and I are waiting for may not have made it to the record store at all. Another thing, this postponement really should come as no surprise. On Thursday, before it was announced, I posted something to the Channel 33 RPM Facebook page. I said, so what do you think? Could coronavirus derail Record Store Day in any way? Could the large crowds be an issue? Could record shipments be slowed down? And that spawned a pretty good discussion. And, people were suggesting maybe it should be canceled. Maybe it was an overreaction. But lo and behold, less than 24 hours later, later, Record Store Day was postponed. The other thing you have to remember is that the decision to postpone Record Store Day was not done in isolation. So many other things have been canceled or put on hold, including the National Hockey League season and the National Basketball Association season. Elsewhere, Live Nation has put all concerts on hold for the next little while. I was supposed to see Alice Cooper in April, and that's been postponed until the fall. Speaking of Live Nation, their bottom line has also taken a huge hit because of this coronavirus issue. They've lost $1.8 billion because of all these cancellations. And just think about how huge that is. So given all this, I think the next reasonable question that we can ask is what's next? And I would suggest that it's probably record shows. Spring is here, and generally spring, at least in my neck of the woods, is record show season. There's going to be a lot of these shows popping up all over the place. Actually, the local record show is happening today. The government here recommends that events that will draw over 250 people should be canceled, but there's no requirement, so the one here is going ahead. Whether I'm going or not, I'm not sure. The issue for me personally is if I contracted it, I don't think I'd become terribly ill, but I wouldn't want to pass it on to someone who actually could get ill. My parents, my mother-in-law, people over a certain age. That's the stuff that I would be more worried about. So where am I going with this? I just think this whole coronavirus thing has just caught many of us by surprise, and we haven't seen anything like this before. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in this area. I'm really not. Just like you guys, I'm watching this whole thing develop, and I think there's going to be many more cancellations that are going to affect all of us record collectors. As I said, I wouldn't be surprised if record shows are canceled and even more concerts going to this summer. Like there's that big stadium tour Motley Crue and Def Leppard are doing. So far that is going ahead, and hopefully it still does, and hopefully in the next few weeks this problem clears up. But if it doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised to see many more of these sorts of things being canceled. In the meantime, I hope all you guys stay safe, stay healthy, follow whatever instructions we're supposed to do to stay healthy, including avoiding certain social situations, washing, sanitizing our hands, all that sort of stuff. I want you guys all to stay safe. With that said, I'm going to cut to my original video. We're going to run down some of my top picks for Record Store Day 2020. Where's my list? The Record Store Day list came out last week. And at first I wasn't completely blown away, and as always, there's a lot of mixed feelings out there about the releases. And you guys still doing Record Store Day? Is this still a thing? I think it is. I think it still generates a lot of excitement, and it's good for record stores, gets people in there. Unfortunately, a lot of those people only go there that one day a year or twice a year if you count Black Friday Record Store Day. So the point is really about supporting your record stores 365 all year round. So anyway, going through this list, obviously I'm going to gravitate more, I suppose, to some of the hard rock stuff. So of the Record Store Day 2020 exclusives, the one that really jumps out at me as something I must have would be Alice Cooper live at the Apollo Theatre in Glasgow, Scotland, recorded February 19th, 1982. This is a 2 LP set, and there's 7,000 copies worldwide, so it does not seem like there will be any shortage of these. 7,000 is quite a bit, so fingers crossed, but I do hope I get that one. That 1982, that's that odd era of Alice. I believe he calls it the lost years. He blanked out. That's when he was drinking and drugging heavily, but it had a totally different image, and I think it's a cool era of Alice Cooper, and I would love to get that. The other one, I don't know about, I'm going to say this one, I doubt I will get it, but Fight, A Small Deadly Space. That was Rob Halford's first solo band after he left Judas Priest. Their first album, War of Words, came out for Record Store Day Black Friday. In the end, I was not successful in snagging a copy. I'm still hopeful that it's released as a regular release at some point. I'm sure it must be. There's too much money to be made. Anyway, this is Fight's second album, A Small Deadly Space, and it just, I remember buying it the day it came out in the mid-90s, and I was kind of disappointed. It was okay, but it wasn't great. But this one's a limited red and black marble vinyl, limited to 2,200 copies worldwide, so that one will be more difficult to snag. There's some other cool ones on the list for you hard rock guys. Judas Priest, Bird of Steel. There's a limited edition 40th anniversary edition 2 LP. That one's limited to 3,500 copies worldwide. I'm going to skip that one. I mean, how many times can I buy Bird of Steel? It's a good album, but I have the original pressing. Got Skid Row, Slave to the Grind. This one comes from Runout Groove, interestingly enough. That one is limited to 2,500 copies worldwide, and they're calling it an expanded version of Slave to the Grind. So I'm not sure what the extra songs on that are going to be. Probably, for those of you in the know, GTFO might be on there, but I'm not sure what the other ones are, so that looks kind of cool. Actually, here's what I might grab if I do see it. The Infectious Grooves. This is a 12-inch EP, limited to 1,500 copies worldwide, so it'll be hard to get. It is called Take You on a Ride. This features 3 unreleased tracks from 1995, along with their first newly recorded song in years. I used to love Infectious Grooves. Another cool one, the Army of Darkness soundtrack. Loved that movie. 2,000 copies of that one. And Nativity in Black. This came out in 1994. It was a tribute to Black Sabbath. Only 2,000 copies of this are available in USA and Canada. I dug this record. I got the CD back when it came out. I really love Biohazard's version of After Forever and White Zombie's version of Children of the Grave. So those are some of the limited RSD exclusives that sound interesting to me anyway. And there's a whole bunch there. What I'm interested in, you guys may not be interested in at all. There's also the Record Store Day first releases. Those are albums that are released on Record Store Day, then they'll be re-released down the road. A couple cool ones there. I know many of you have sent me DMs saying you're pretty excited about getting the reissue of Ace Frehley's Trouble Walkin'. That's coming out as a 2 LP set, limited to 2,400 copies worldwide. I was never a huge fan of the Trouble Walking album. I'll probably skip that one. Corb Lund, Canadian roots country singer. He's got the his last EP he put out last year, Cover Your Tracks, on New West Records, is coming out as a 12-inch EP. That one's limited to 1,000 copies worldwide. Extremely limited edition. I'm a huge Corb fan. If I saw that one, I may grab it. Now here's one. If I don't get this one on the RSD first, I'll get it down the road. I'm a huge fan of this guy. I'm talking about Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush. This is called Real Live Volume 1. This is recorded live at Club Soda in Montreal, Canada, September 8th, 2001. First time on vinyl, limited to 1,000 copies worldwide. I don't know if I'll get that, but Frank Marino is probably the most underrated Canadian guitarist of all time. Is one of the world's most never mind Canada, one of the world's most underrated guitarists. The Mahogany Rush were such a good band. I'm just looking at my wall there. I got Frank Marino's Juggernaut album there. That's great. But if you're not familiar with Frank Marino and or Mahogany Rush, definitely check them out. I mean, kind of picked up where Jimi Hendrix left off, blues, rock guitar, fantastic. So if I do see the Frank Marino Mahogany Rush, I will have to grab that as well. All right, 33ers, that is today's video. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. What do you think of all this coronavirus stuff and the decision to delay Record Store Day? As far as Record Store Day itself, what are some of your top picks this year? What will you be looking for in June? And let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a quick thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would highly suggest that you should. Dear 33ers, I hope each and every one of you has a fantastic week. Until next time, keep on spinning.